Welcome to another episode of Price Targets with your host Bitcoin Jack. Welcome back, guys. We're in a tough week. I think that the market is gonna try and sell off if the conflict escalates, but at the same time, we're gonna see that eventually war is always inflationary, and we've pretty much recovered from the sell-off we had on Thursday to Friday night, and I think I think that reaction was telling. We're gonna see whether if the U.S. joins that, whether markets are gonna kind of freak out a little bit, and I think just like with the Japanese stuff back in 2023 and some other events that we had that were, just panic sells. There is a lot of buy pressure on Bitcoin, so it's going to be very interesting to see how we're going to react to it. Generally, I think if we're going to see a sell off, it's going to be bought up rapidly. But let's discuss where I want to, be careful and where to go along. So let's start with Backpack. Backpack is about to launch season 2, and if you haven't been able to sign up to Backpack, you probably will be able to because there's going to be more jurisdictions coming out for season 2. We've during season 1, I've been farming some points, and look, I think I'm pretty I can't guarantee things, it's speculative, but I'm pretty sure we're going to see an exchange token created, just like BNB, and I imagine the points will be the key to actually own this exchange token. So for season 2, I'm pretty sure there's going to be some kind of drops on that too, and I think this is going to be a very profitable points drop. So if you haven't been able to sign up, you probably will. If you're thinking about signing up, just send me a DM. Maybe I can work it out with the team to let you come on. Well, that was my audio falling away. Anyways, so Backpack, truly, I've been enjoying it, and they're offering a bunch of stuff from futures and lending and derivatives that are currently not completely available for EU and US citizens, and they're going to make sure that we will be able to get our hands on it again. So come sign up, let me know, and maybe I can help you out to actually get your KYC through, even though it's not open yet. Other than that, I think we need to talk about Bitcoin, guys, and about the Iran US conflict, Iran Israel conflict. I don't know like who's in charge, but essentially this 106 level, it's crucial for us to hold, and it's basically what I want to see happen here is that we can have price close above 105.6. The nuke overnight on Thursday to Friday, we had this level outlined as a sweep level to find an entry on last week's video, so that was a level of interest. We don't want to actually backfill this. This is starting to look like some kind of triangle. It's kind of hard to define it, but let's define it like this. And the triangle forms over here. There's a couple of ways these things usually work out. Either we do have a last sweep like here, and then we see continuation, or the triangle is actually breached to here, and then it's not going to be bullish until we actually kind of start reclaiming levels and break above the triangle. If there's no fake out of that triangle, really what I want to see is this level to hold and come here, and then there's upside for the market. But until that happens, it's kind of a tricky place we're in. Um, the black line here is the weekly level, and I really want to see that respected to keep a bullish bias, right? We've been underneath it, and we've been managing to actually keep going above it. At some point, it needs to hold to become bullish, and if we, keep on going below it for too many times, it's going to be, I think it's going to be painful, and the bias, my bias is going to switch for a bit. Um, when we look at ETH, we're essentially, this is starting to become kind of a sideways consolidation where we're trapped in between this trend line and this trend line that's parallel. ETH has shown a lot less strength over this kind of, bounce, and it's actually already retested the level that I outlined on Bitcoin, which is essentially the expansion here. So that might be a telltale sign that this is weak, right? So looking at it, it's kind of almost to the point where this weekly now has been rejected. I think for ETH to be bullish, it must reclaim this again, right? It must reclaim the weekly. If Bitcoin can hold the level and ETH can do that, then we're, there's no way. I mean, I'm not going to say there's no way because I've been wrong at basically this breakout and that breakout. Last week, we talked about entry levels for ETH. And it was essentially, well, if you start breaking out from this level here, then it's bullish. And then if there's a sell-off, the low here needs to be claimed, needs to be rated, which happened. So, that was a decent entry for ETH. And after that, all you can do is kind of hope the market's going to do its thing, right? I'm not in the mood to trade this range too much. I'm in the mood of building a position for a potential breakout, because if, asymmetrically, there's, in my opinion, a lot more upside if this holds, since this move that came into it was rather strong, right? It's entirely possible that this sideways action is going to get rated 1, 2, 3 stops down into what's, the level below here, kind of do this, do some stuff like this, and then reclaim it. I'd be a buyer if, on the reclaim here. Then it's going to fill this. I think on a broader scale, that just signals a lot, less appetite than anticipated for ETH. Gun to my head, this is going to hold, and it's going to motor out of it. And this was a rather, large reaccumulation, and that's going to come to fruition. So yeah, we need to see what happens here. Let me kind of get rid a bit of this. We've rated this low here, and there's still, there's still demand in the 100 to 97 region. It's absolutely possible that we come down into here, and that's going to be our takeoff level for Bitcoin. So I'm generally cautious here because we should have seen some kind of, strength here, and this little move here, we've been doing this for several times now, right? So essentially push, consolidation, breakout, level should kind of hold up here. It didn't. It did here on, the push, the expansion here, came back into the level, bounced, but then rated it anyway. So we've been seeing these kind of choppy situations that haven't really been reacting the way you want to see it, but it's also generally, if you want to be bullish, that's just your sign that things remain choppy. Um, but if you're playing a continuation game, there is, you only have a choice to kind of react to these liquidity levels, get in, and then kind of set your risk management and manage around it and hope that it's gonna go your way, right? So essentially, that's how I'm playing the market, and there's times where you give a lot of your profits back. But generally, you know, these sweeps here or the retest of the center of gravity of the consolidation, they're generally good levels to play. Here it fails, but then the next level works out. So, one fail, one gain. Um, Here it works out, but then you get crashed down here, and then here it works out and you gain a lot. So we'll see how that works out. ETH is gonna hopefully show the strength when Bitcoin can keep up on this level. And then we have ES. Let me go to a little bit of a larger time frame. It's struggling with its monthly. So monthly level here, highest monthly close. It's finding resistance here. This entire bounce has been, almost full. So I don't necessarily expect this to be bearish. If we look at the reaction of the market on the Israel-Iran conflict, that was this candle right here. So we bounced above it and it just keeps on grinding. I think there's a lot of people that are kind of trying to beat the market here, but I think this is on its way to expansion. So essentially, the way I'd measure this and the way I think is a fair way to do it is to split the range. Take the low here, and then put the 1618 around the level of expansion, which is going to be either from the monthly or from the high here, which puts us towards the 6900 target range, which for some reason I'm starting to very much like because of the SPX 6900 meme. It makes no sense. It's a very poor thesis, but in general, this doesn't look like it's going to be amazingly bearish for now. People have been trying to make a bearish case, and with what we've basically said is, well, like there's no bearish case unless you start like breaking below here. So until then, I think pullbacks are for buying on ES, and generally war is just going to mean that there's probably going to be cuts because we're going to need money, man. Wars always require money, and I mean, if you're gonna rate, if you're not gonna do anything that's as the Federal Reserve, I think it's a huge mistake. So FOMC is tomorrow, and I imagine they're gonna hold rates, but imagine they're gonna cut rates tomorrow. Let's find out, right? So Farcoin is in a difficult place. Ideally, we're back in range. So we have the low here, the high here. It's reclaimed it, kind of went through it. It's retesting it. If broader market is bullish, it needs to bounce from here, right? That's just it. Just doesn't look too great, to be honest. And then we have hype. It almost reached our 47 target. It's back at the support here. So really, what I really would love to see is for this to hold. If we're coming below here, I'm gonna start cutting some exposure, and it would make a lot of sense for price to kind of come retest, sweep this low here, and then you can again do some kind of the same thing that we did with big that I showed you with Bitcoin. Is you have this consolidation, and then there's this point where everything contracts to, and then you have the expansion. So usually that's a place where you at least have a bounce. So there's one setup here, and the other setup is here. You could catch the knife when it comes into here. It's not guaranteed it will. It might just not reach into the level straight away. Or what you could do, and I usually love these kind of setups, is where it sweeps this one into this one, and then you play the reclaim of this wick. If we can see that, I probably think the broader market is also bullish, because hype is kind of like just like Thoughtcoin. It's a risk barometer, and I'd say that if it can come down in here, it's probably gonna reach 47, 48, and then 55. On the larger scale, I think this is gonna reach like at least 100 this cycle. And then we have Aave. It did what I initially thought it was gonna do, but then it kind of petered out here. So essentially the retest here, we really want to see that hold. The daily structure here. But honestly, like, this is starting to kind of look like a lot of tests of the level. So 1, 2, 3. I don't know. I'm not really a fan when levels get tested too much. So you could argue that this is a little trend line and tried to break out, and it's failing. It's sweeping the low. So I think this might come just like with the other consolidation that we saw into the expansion level. So essentially another setup here that's very similar. You can either try and catch the knife around here, around 2400, or it comes down into it, and then it comes and reclaims the level, and then it's gonna start to move up on a bigger scale. Probably need to kind of remove a bit of the clutter here. Look, essentially we're battling this resistance of the Ichi, and this one is going steep down. So what really could happen is that you come down here and then follow the cloud back up. So it's I'm not sure we're gonna get our way here, especially if the broader market is trying to sell off on the Israel-Iran fears. But there's definitely plays out here. Oops. Let me remove the cloud for a second. Let me remove this one too. So if this was the final move of this entire thing, you oftentimes go, there's oftentimes clearance of the liquidity levels, which are sitting here. This is probably going to get respected, but these two are vulnerable levels. So I wouldn't be a bidder here at the current prices. I would be a bidder when this either comes down and then catch the knives here, or when the reclaim of this level happens. And it might vary. There's two considerations to make here. Either it's going to be a long drawn out, like very boring consolidation, or is it going to be a steep move? And if it's a steep move, then it actually can run back up turbo like very quickly. So I think this is just one to watch and see develop. And then ABTC is really, I'm stopped out of this position. It's you know, absolutely doing jack shit. So I'm not really sure what these guys are doing. So let's talk about gold. Last week we said it's probably going to be a continuation. It's the second time it's come into the 0.786 with the whole Iran thing, Israel thing. This is, you know, gearing up for a level higher. So I still think this is going to reach 3,800. Obviously, we're going to see some inflationary pressures from, well, either the conflict is going to be over in a couple of weeks, days. But oil is, you know, oil is poised to go higher until we kind of see US recession fears coming up. And I think that's not going to happen before August, if at all, right? So this could very well push the Federal Reserve to be hesitant to cut because it's inflationary. And then the question is like, how is the labor market holding up? And that's, you know, that's becoming more tricky. So probably going to see 2 cuts this year. This is pretty much our risk meter, the long-term treasury yields. It's starting to look like we're holding, right? If the Fed is going to cut, it's going to push long-term rates up unless there is like recession fears, right? If there's true recession fears, it won't. So this is tricky. Dollar, well, I'm all in the market currently, so I don't hold like dollars over euros, but I still think that this is generally, I would own dollars over euros at this point because it's, you know, it could come down here, but its general behavior has just been, you know, create ranges, sweep ranges, and not just, you know, the last couple of years, but it's been like that for a lot of time, you know, like range, sweep it, range, sweep it. You know, if it's a, you know, it's almost a fractal of what we've seen here. So you basically you rate the low, bounce, come down, make a lower low, and then reclaim it. So maybe this is going to come down into like 95, 94 level, especially if the Federal Reserve is going to cut and try to support the market. So maybe it comes then down here and then it's just going to come back into the range. It's still, you know, the risk reward favors upside. When we have our SPX 6900 trade, it hit all the levels that we outlined, so I'm not really currently interested in holding any of this fully out. And you know, if you look at this, it would make a lot of sense to me that you at the very least rate liquidity here on a 1-to-1 ratio. But these kind of coins, they tend to be very volatile. And so if we measure, I prefer, you know, the 1618 extension or the 1-to-1 extension. So there's probably going to be a reaction here, even if it, you know, can come down to the 1.618. I think the 1.618 is a great level if it comes to there to have like a more medium term position. And the 1-to-1 level at 1.28, 27, 26, maybe into the level here. That's like a short-term bounce, a couple of days into a bearish retest up here. So I'd be a bidder here, reclaim, and then probably we get rejected around this block, right? So that would be a trade I'd be interested in. This is if the broader market turn bullish, but if it does this, it's probably after that going to sell off into the 1.618 extension level here. XRP, it's kind of like the setups that we spoke about last week. It really hasn't moved, right? So essentially either we see this consolidation become a reclaim of the level here, and then we can see upside, and the level down here, well, the whole story with Circle is off the table, of course. They're gonna try their own shit, but so maybe this isn't as important anymore as it was last week. Circle went live, IPO'd. It's worth a lot of stuff. And then Justin Sun, Tron season. I think we're gonna see Tron season. I think Justin Sun is gonna do some financial fraud, engineering, whatever. So I'm very much interested in a bunch of coins that are existing on Pump, his Pump.fun kind of alternative. And I don't know if it's a coincidence, but the Pump.fun account got banned. So I don't know. That's a strange coincidence, I think. Maybe there are no coincidences. And he's doing it, in collaboration with Trump. And honestly, this chart doesn't look that crazy, right? I'd say you have support like this. You have support like that, where we're currently ranging around. And then let me pull this out. Support, breakdown, kind of ranging. This is now, in my opinion, becoming a reaccumulation range. And that should eventually break out. So I think triggers could be, watching the trend line like that. And in my opinion, this was a clear impulse move. So if we have to draw, like, let's say move, consolidation, impulse, pullback, fifth wave, this is the consolidation of that. Into the 786, maybe the 0.886 around here, and then from there, this should set up for a rally. It's probably, I don't think it's going to be an amazingly bullish thing, but it should at least be able to do like an ABC into like $18, maybe $23. So that's the levels we're talking about. So essentially that aligns us with, these two larger wicks. Obviously the wick here. So I think this is going to bottom out and then come here, maybe all the way up here, but definitely up here. I think that was, oh yeah, let's look at here. For now, Japanese yields are kind of keeping in range, so that's good news. This is a chart to watch for, liquidity tensions globally. if this decides to start moving that way, there's a bunch of shit about to happen in credit markets. Um, Potentially could trigger the Fed to cut like more aggressively. Um, so yeah, just something to watch. What else do we have? Not interested in Solana currently, but I think I've been, you know, quite vocal about it. I think this is preferably in a bullish market, but I think this is kind of gearing up to a ratio of 5. This is not prices divided by each other, but it's market caps divided by each other. Just to be clear, if you want to get this chart, use crypto cap exclamation crypto cap and then the double points thing, and then find the market caps of ETH and SOL, and then divide them by each other, right? Yeah, there's probably a bunch of shit coins on Justin on Tron that are worth paying attention to. I'm not gonna mention them because they're probably like shitty liquidity and low caps, and think that's not my game. And other than that, guys, please come check out Backpack. You're really gonna enjoy it, and I think if there's gonna be a token generation event for Backpack, you want to be part of it. And I'm speculating that we will. So use my ref link. You're gonna get 20% off your fees, and you're gonna get all these awesome stuff that we earn from the points. And I hope to catch you guys next week. Please stay safe. It's a rough market out there, very volatile. Probably when do you get? Oh, sorry, that was my coffee. Very volatile if we see the U.S. join the Israel-Iran conflict, which seems more likely by the day as Iran has rejected the kind of proposal that the U.S. made. And then, it's probably going to draw China to the table because China, has a lot of interest in Iran because Iran delivers a shit ton of crude oil to China, and China is importing, I think, like 80% of their oil and gas is probably imported from abroad. So their strategic alliances and interests are, they're definitely gonna get involved in some kind of way. So potentially we're seeing another proxy war evolve. And who knows? Who knows whether that's gonna drag like countries like Pakistan or um, North Korea. Obviously, Russia is in that alliance as well, and they're not like very straight up um, pacts, but obviously there's this kind of dependence on each other, so they will help each other out. I think, man, guys, I wish you good luck. It's a rough market out there, and hopefully things are gonna work out. If not, we're probably gonna see a bit of a steep raid the lows here, and then hopefully come back up, reclaim, and then do the actual push for all-time highs. So for ETH, obviously that means that we could come back into the 2100 region, and for BTC that means we could come into the 97, 96 region, maybe just slightly less, maybe slightly more shallow. And obviously, like a lot of these altcoins are gonna shit the bed like extremely hard when that happens. So, be careful out there, and um, protect some of your capital. Use some stops, and use the dry powder if the opportunities occur. All right. Well, that was a long one. Catch you guys next week, and hope you enjoyed that. Cheers.